Hi everyone, I'm Autistic Ange. This is a podcast for adults who recently found out they're autistic and are looking for other autistic people like them. I decided to do another Meltdown episode, but to me, this one's a bit different because this has to do with something that I knew was going to happen a few days in advance and I had to plan and prepare for, because it's one of those situations where a meltdown is more likely than not going to happen unless I do something about it. So I thought I would share that whole process because for me, these have been the worst. These kinds of meltdowns have always caused problems between my wife and I, because until I found out that I'm autistic, I just thought that I was an adult that threw tantrums, apparently. But now, I know exactly what goes on. So anyways, let me just get into it. I think you guys will be able to relate to this. So, and yes, this is going to have to do with my wife because she's my only other human, but anyways, so I think I had mentioned before that she was wanting a new car. So a few days ago, she made an appointment at a dealership that's 2 hours away. And I had told her that I was really, I was going to be really supportive of her. I'll go with her to the dealership and all that fun stuff. And it's one of those things where, and by the way, just about everything I'm going to say, I've already said to my wife. She already knows how I think. So I'm not sitting here trying to throw her under the bus or bash her or anything like that. She already knows, the beauty of being autistic and my wife knowing I'm autistic is now there's an explanation for some shit. So anyways, let me just get into it. So yes, a few days ago, she makes an appointment at this dealership. She tells me about it. I prepare to go. Excuse me. I prepare because I know when we have traveled, if we're not going on a road trip that we've already planned for and stuff like that, if we go on road trips, I'm fine, I'm excited, whatever. But when we're going to places for adult reasons, getting a car, it used to be fun. It's not that great anymore because the process is just so long. But when we go farther away for stuff like that, I can't handle it. Even if I have the preparation time. But anyways, I don't know what I keep going off on. I should get back to the point. But so yesterday's when we went, and the day before, it was about, 1 o'clock. And I noticed I was starting to turn into what we call a legna, which is Angela spelled backwards, my name. And a legna was, I don't know. Sorry for anybody out there that this stuff doesn't apply to, that might be grossed out or whatever. But for, the premenstrual, what's it called? PMDD, premenstrual dysphoria, some shit like that. I got diagnosed with that because I'm a raging fucking bitch during that time of the month. And hopefully that stops. I don't know what's going to go on with my hormones now. But anyways, my wife called her Alegna. She's like, when Alegna's here, it ain't going to be good. So Alegna started to creep up the other day because it was getting closer to the next day, which is when we were going to leave. And it's when I start running through all of the reasons why I don't want to go and do the thing that I'm supposed to do. And, as an aside, my wife has been supportive of me through my surgery, taking me to my appointments. There's no way I'm not going to go. It's just that I don't want to go, and I don't think I'll ever be able to convince myself of wanting to go and do these things. She already knows this. I mean, it has nothing to do with her. It's just the fact that, like, I'm being taken out of my safe space and out of my routines. So the day before, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this, and this. I have work that's due, but not until the end of the week. So I already knew I was fine with that. But, like, I had, like, what a normal Monday would look like for me was going to be out the window because I wasn't going to be here. And I just knew that, like, with the dealership being 2 hours away, we were going to be gone all day and probably wouldn't come back until the nighttime. Because it's like nothing seems to be easy for us ever. So, like, and it wasn't yesterday. But so these thoughts are like going through my mind. And I was in my room. What was I doing? I was working. And she could just tell like something was going on, but she didn't know what it was. And she knew that it had something to do with us leaving yesterday, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Like, she's seen this before, but now that I know what it is, I'm like, okay, this is what I've been thinking about. My brain is just like telling me about all the reasons why I shouldn't go, but like, I want to go with you to be supportive, but I also don't. Like, I sound like such a bitch, but she understands. So she's trying to like, she's trying to be like, okay, well, you can just stay home. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I've done this before. Like, I have no problem at dealerships and stuff like that. And she doesn't, but like, I wanted to be there for her because I know that there's times where she wants that, but she won't ask for it. So, and, yeah, I just wouldn't feel right with her going all that way by herself. But anyways, so once I told her that that's how I was starting to feel, it changed my mood because I was like, oh my God, like, this is why I feel like I turn into a bitch the day before I'm about to do something new and different that's going to take me away for hours and hours. And I felt better. And I told her to stop trying to talk me out of it because, like, it's really easy to sit there and be like, okay, yeah, I'll stay home. I do have all this stuff to do. But, we ended up not getting back until almost 9 o'clock last night. And if I did not go with her, I would have felt guilty. And that she would have had to do all those hours by herself. So once we talked about it, I said, please give me some time. Just let me like really think on it and like make sure that, because whenever, and here's another thing, like, I have been a bitch on trips like this, like, and I never knew why. But I've always been a bitch. And so like my wife is sitting there yesterday, or well, the other day it was, she's sitting there and like these thoughts are probably running through her mind. Like, okay, like she's usually very unpleasant, but she still wants to come. Like, and she's probably like, I just want a new car. I don't want to have to deal with like a toddler. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's how I've acted in the past, but so I decided ultimately to go, and I had to come up with a plan. So I spent quite a bit of time like, okay, this is what I'm going to do in the car to make sure that like the drive is okay for me and that I don't become bitchy. This is how I'm going to handle being at the dealership. Like, I had to like think about all these things, and it gets annoying because like my wife doesn't have to think about stuff like this. She just is normal. Like, she can just, okay, like, I'm excited, I'm going to a dealership, I'm going to get a car. Like, she doesn't think about being gone for hours and having to interact with people. And I mean, at least not to the extent that like I do. So I wish that like I wasn't the way that I am sometimes, because this stuff is annoying. But like, I was also wanting to push myself to go because it's the first time, like I said, that I'm going this far away with the awareness of being autistic. So I wanted to see, like, can I work on staving off a meltdown, like preventing one from happening? now that I know what's going on. So I wanted to see if I could do it. So we're in the car. We leave at about 11 o'clock. It takes 2 hours to go there or to get there. I had made a playlist the night before, and I put a whole bunch of shit that like I like to listen to. And then I asked my wife, like, tell me all the things you want me to put into the playlist. And I'll only put exactly what she tells me. Because and her music, I just don't like it. Like I said, she knows all this stuff. So these aren't secrets, but yeah, so like I'll put 50 songs and she'll tell me like maybe 15, and I'm like, that's it? That's all you got? It's just 15? And she's like, yeah, that's good. And I'm thinking, yes, because that means I don't have to listen to that much of your shitty music. It's the worst. Like, I like, Tegan and Sarah is my favorite, but like, I like hardcore metal, dubstep when I work, but like, she'll listen to things like Imagine Dragons. No offense to anybody out there that likes bands like that, but like Imagine Dragons, Alana Davis, like she listens to shit that's like so old. And what I think is mainstream. That's just me. And so like I despise her music with every fiber in my being. I hate being in the car having to listen to it. It fucking sucks. And she knows it. And I wish I wasn't like this, because that's so selfish. Like, let's just listen to my music and not yours. I don't do that though. I suck it up. And I listen to it, and the whole time I'm like, I hate this. This sucks. Like, why does she like this shitty fucking music? Like, what the hell? So, like, that's how that always goes for me. So I make sure I load up the playlist so it has most of my stuff. It's so horrible, but she knows I do this. So, like, we start taking off, and for whatever reason, my phone won't connect to the car, and that's never happened before. And the playlist is on my Spotify, and I was pissed like after a few minutes, and I still couldn't get it to connect, and she couldn't get it to connect, and I was like, I made a fucking playlist. And I just got so pissed. She's like, sorry, and she keeps driving. And meanwhile, I'm sitting next to her, like, having this whole war in my head. Like, this fucking car and this shitty ass fucking phone, and like, of course it's not working today. What am I supposed to do now? Like, she's got her phone, it connects to the car just fine, and her music's all on that shit, and stuff I think doesn't, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me sometimes. But so do you think that she thought to put her phone on? And like, I was hoping maybe she would like put some music on that she knows I like via her phone. And she didn't. She just kept driving, and it was like silent. And so for whatever reason, I thought it'd be a good idea to act like a 5-year-old. So I opened Spotify on my phone. I put on the song that I wanted, and I stuck the phone. I was wearing a beanie, so I stuck it like, I shoved it up in the beanie by my ear. And I started listening to music that way like a 5-year-old. And I don't know if she noticed. That wasn't the point. The point was like I needed my music. And then after like a couple of minutes of that, I realized this isn't going to go very well. Like, I need to hear the music all over the car, not just in one ear. So then I blamed my feelings on her, and I'm like, why are you turning music on for me? Like, why are we just driving in silence? I'm listening to this through my phone in my ear. Like, don't you know that? And like, she just looks over and is like, what the fuck? Like, this is how stuff happens all the time. It's just like, she's being normal, and like, out of nowhere, my craziness comes. So like, And she ended up just like, here's my phone, put whatever you want on. And so I put Tegan and Sarah on. And this is embarrassing, but like, what did they call those they're pacifiers, right? That babies use to suck on. I used to call them like nuck-nucks. Is that what people still call them? I don't know. But Tegan and Sarah is like my nuck-nuck. As soon as that went on in the car, I was quiet for about an hour and a half until she wanted to listen to her music. And then that last half hour, I was like, this fucking sucks. This fucking sucks. This fucking sucks. But the first hour and a half, I laid back. I pushed the seat back. I laid back and I just focused on the music. And it was weird. It was like all of a sudden, I was fine. Music is just like, oh my God, like I love music. But like, I felt like sometimes it's hard not to feel embarrassed because it's like a 5-year-old or like a baby. Like, give the baby the pacifier so they shut the fuck up. And so like when my wife like kind of tossed the phone at me, I felt like she was giving me a pacifier and like, shut the fuck up, put your music on, So that's how the day started. And so then we get to the dealership, and this is was it the second or third one we tried to get her? It was another Hyundai dealership. It was the second or third one. And these salespeople are just so shady and annoying everywhere. Like, it's so obvious what they're doing, like what their tactics are. At least to me, it's obvious. So anyways, we get there. They have the car that like she drove there for, and so we go and we drive it, and excuse me. My first thought when we drive off the lot is, this car is a piece of shit. Like, it's some Hyundai something. I don't know. Hyundais suck. I'm a Chevy person. Like, I love my Chevy Cruze. I will never ever drive anything other than a Chevy Cruze if I can help it. And my wife likes Hyundais because they're made better, apparently. I don't know. So this one was a 2019 because she's just getting a newer used one. That's all. And the one that she traded in was like a 2014. So there's like some upgraded features, but like the car felt like it was made very cheaply. And I just had this feeling like, oh, this is not going to work. And the car was making a fucking noise. Like a wheel bearing was like, that's what it sounded like. It was making a noise it shouldn't be making when you're test driving a car. And so we get back and we tell the salesperson, and he's like, well, we just got that car in like last week. We haven't had time to like look through it or even detail it. So that explained the fucking smell. And I was thinking to myself, like, that's so unprofessional, because I've never gone anywhere to drive a new used car and had to deal with like mechanical issues or strange smells. Like, people, I don't know, Chevy dealerships to me are just way better. The people they really want you to buy their shit. So like I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, that was annoying. So we tell the guy, and he tries to downplay it, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And my wife was like, no, like, this really needs to be looked at. Like, it sounds like this. It's like more of a mechanical thing than like something you can just detail. So like, what should have only been like maybe 2 hours turned into like fucking 5. My wife asked me at one point, what do you think? And I was like, I don't have a good feeling about this car. It feels and looks like a piece of shit to me, and I don't think it's a good decision to go with this car. And she heard what I said, didn't really say much, and just decided that I'm just going to get this car anyways. And I was like, well, then why the fuck did you ask me what my thoughts were? And you didn't even say, like, you didn't even really comment on them. And so that was annoying. And also, like, I was really shocked because, like, this car, I was surprised that she wanted it. And didn't see it the way that I saw it. Like, to me, it was worse than the car that she was trading in. And I was just like, she's seriously going to go through, even though there's got like this mechanical issue that they're like trying to bullshit us about. Oh my God. So yeah, she went with it, and I was thinking like, this is ridiculous. This is like the worst car that she could buy, but it's her car. It's her choice. That's fine. And then like when it was getting closer to like her having to sign the paperwork and it getting final, she asked me again, like, what are your thoughts? And I was like, I already told you. And she just wanted to hear them again. So I repeated them and nothing. And so then she was like, well, it was like she was considering not buying it and maybe looking at something else. But like at that point, we already were so close to like getting the car. Like the sales guy had already got the paperwork. He'd already done this. He already done that. To me, it seems like, well, it's too late for you to change your mind now. Like they're already doing all the work. Like most of it's done. This is your car now. And she's like, well, not necessarily, not till I sign the paperwork. And so that made me feel so anxious because I'm like, how can you make them do all this work and then at the last minute say no? And she even considered when the guy was like, give us a couple hours to have the mechanics look at the car. He's like, go get something to eat maybe. Like, she even considered like just driving off, just going home. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. There's no way we're doing that. I would feel so bad. God, I don't know. So anyway, she decided we stayed. The process took forever. At one point, like I went to sit in the old car for like an hour and I just read my Kindle because I needed to be away from like the people and the lights and just all the things. Like I was starting to get to the point where I was about to blow. And so I asked my wife, I was like, can I just stay in the car? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And so I did that for about an hour. And she was like very supportive of me because she knew I was trying to be there for her. Excuse me, I know that's gross. I have allergies that are kicking up today. But so anyways, towards the end, we're sitting at the desk with a guy and all we're waiting for is the finance person to, like they were working with another customer. We were waiting for that person because that's the last person we needed to get all the paperwork done so we could go. And so like, it's just my wife and I at the desk with the guy. And he's obviously one of those people that can't just sit there in silence and be comfortable with it. Like you can't just look at your phone and scroll through that or something and like not say anything. Nope, he's one of those people that feels the need to fill the silence. And so it was just stupid shit like, oh yeah, like look at this car and blah, 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 and like look at these features and this is the one that's coming out next year and like check this out. And like my wife was like talking to him and like interacting and I'm like, what the fuck, like this is like interesting for her. And so I was just sitting there like I wanted to keep reading, but I thought that'd be rude if I was just started doing that in front of them. So I'm like looking around and I'm not really interacting with the guy and I can just tell that he thinks I'm weird. Like, you just can tell. It's not even necessarily a look that you get. Sometimes it's just a feeling. And that's what I got, was like a feeling. Like I barely was making eye contact with this guy. I wasn't really saying much to him. And I was sitting there like, he probably thinks I don't like him, or like I think he's annoying, which both of those things were true, but I didn't want him to think I thought that. And so eventually I was just like, I'm going to go wait in the waiting area and go back to my book. So I escaped that. But so I avoided a meltdown, and it was like so hard because it kept popping up several times throughout the day. Like I'm about to have a meltdown. And so like I had to be aware of it, distract myself, do something different. It was a lot of work. And all we did was go to a dealership to get a fucking car. Lots of people do this. Lots of people understand that it takes hours sometimes. Why am I not okay with this? Like, I'm just not okay with it. Because in my mind, I'm thinking about all of the productive things I could be doing. Like, I could have gotten A, B, C, and D done with my work. I could have done this errand and that errand. I could have had like a whole lot of shit done and have felt like I was being productive rather than just sitting on my ass all day in a car and at a car dealership. So yeah. And then we had to ride home. And so like finally it's all said and done. We're the last people at the dealership. So they lock up when we leave. And my thoughts are like, they're just trying to get us the fuck out because they know that this car is a piece of shit and it's going to break down on us like halfway home. And they want to make sure that they're not at work when we try to call. Like, these are the thoughts going through my head, as well as I cannot believe she picked this shitty fucking car. I feel like such a bitch, but like I already don't like Hondas, however you fucking say it. But this car was like so bad. But again, that's just my opinion. She liked it, so we got it. And we drove home, and the mechanical issue ended up being the something with the tire and like the rubber rubbing against something. That's whatever like reason they gave her. And so we're on the thruway driving home with this fucking whirring sound, like whirring, like WHIR, like whir. Sorry, I don't know if you can understand me. And I just am sitting there thinking, I have never driven home after buying a car and had to worry about a mechanical issue. Like, why did she do this? Why is she okay with this? And so like all they did was they took $500 off the price to cover whatever the expense would be to get new tires. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Like, give us the $500 up front. That would have been better. Am I a bitch? Does that sound bitchy? I don't know. Probably. Yeah, so we pulled over like after, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so. Like, we went into a gas station so she could fill up. I got some chocolate. That was another pacifier. So like I had chocolate. I was good to go for at least a little while. But the ride home wasn't so bad because I knew we were going home, that there was no other surprises unless the car broke down. But so I was a lot happier knowing that we were on our way home. And so I just was telling my wife, I was like, look, don't like assume when we came in, she started talking to me and I was like, please don't talk to me very much. Like, because I was still close to having a meltdown, because now I'm home and this is a space where I can release everything and nobody sees it except my wife. And I tried so hard. I was like, I cannot do this to her. I cannot do this to her. Like, she's excited. She's got this new car. So like, and it was like almost 9:00. So as soon as we got home, I knew I was going to have to make her meals for work the next day. I still had to scoop. She had to go straight to bed because she gets up at like 4 a.m. And so like, I'm in the kitchen, like getting ready to make her breakfast. And she's like, oh, you don't have to like do that. You can just put like the burrito in there so you don't have to cook me anything. And I just looked at her and I was like, stop talking to me. I was like, please don't talk to me. And I was like, I'm so close. Like, I'm going to have a meltdown right here if like you keep talking to me. And she's like, is it me? And I'm like, no. I'm like, if you really want to know, even though I think you do, it's the fact that we were gone for hours. I knew that we were going to be gone all day and that I was going to have to come straight home and go into chore mode instead of just de-stress. Because I can't just come home and sit and then go do stuff. Like, because then I'll be thinking about that stuff. It's just a whole fucked up crazy land in my head. And so like, and then I was like, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do that. And Rachel Maddow only comes on Mondays now, and I cannot watch her live tonight. I have to watch her on the DVR because I have stuff to do right now. I said, so please don't talk to me anymore and just let me do my stuff. And we avoided a meltdown. Oh, these are so embarrassing. Even like having avoided one, I'm like, how is this my life? Like, how is it that like I did okay all day? Just I was proud of myself. But then we get home and all it would take is her to keep talking to me and I would blow. And the meltdown isn't even about her. It's about like me, Does that make sense? It was so hard. And so then I thought like, okay, we're not quite out of the woods yet. Because do you know like when you're able to avoid a meltdown, but like, and you think that you did a good job, but then you wake up the next day and you realize that it's still lingering and you're still feeling stressed from the day before and that meltdown is right around the corner. So I was like, is that going to happen? And I've been up for a few hours and I don't feel that way. So I guess that's a good sign. I feel okay. Plus, like I'm back into like my normal routine. My wife is at work. I have the house to myself. So yeah. So, like to me, like meltdowns are like minefields. Like yesterday, that car dealership thing felt like a minefield. Like I was trying to be very careful where I stepped, because if I stepped in the wrong place, something bad was going to happen. And I don't know how I feel about like being afraid that I'm not going to be able to control my feelings and my behavior. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even like having to think like that. But I gotta say, I would much rather repeat that experience from yesterday than how like all of the hundreds, however many there were before, where whoever was with me had to deal with an adult child. And looking back, how odd that like, why didn't I stop and like think about this stuff more in depth, like, and really try to pick it apart? Like, why do I act like this? Why do I feel like this? Like, why didn't I stop and do that? Like, I don't fucking know. But like, this happened on a regular basis. We would go somewhere. I would get irritated as soon as we got into the car. It would just escalate until we got to the place. Then it would keep escalating because now there's other people and situations involved. And then if I make it until we get home, which I usually was able to, then all of the shit inside of me came out and it wasn't good. Like, it's like when I'm reading books about like autism and like there's the sections about like the kids and they talk about how like the kids try to be on their best behavior all day at school, and then when they get home they start like crying and like having behavioral issues, and the parents are like, why are you so good at school all day, but then you come home and you're like this? Well, it's because they're trying to be normal, quote normal, throughout the day so they don't make other people feel uncomfortable. And then they come home to their safe space and they feel like, okay, now I can just let all this out. And that's kind of like how I've been rolling, but it hasn't really been working that well. But this is the first time that things went fine. And I know you guys understand, like, as crazy as it sounded in my head, as aware as I had to be, as stressful as that was all day for me yesterday, there was nothing negative that happened. I didn't ruin my wife's fun day of getting a new car. So for one of the first times, I didn't feel like I ruined somebody's good day by having a meltdown. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Well, also, like, the after part too. Once I got all the chores done, my wife was in bed, I sat down and like I couldn't do my nighttime routine. Like, I literally just turned the TV on and just watched it. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't gonna say this, but I mentioned that, like, I have trichotillomania. So, like, what did I do? I turned the TV on and I went to town on my leg hairs. I mean, and when I say I went to town, I spent a good, like, hour on each leg while I was watching TV. And that made my anxiety go away. It made the stress go away. Like, it is so fucked up because I don't want to be that person that comes home and pulls their fucking leg hair out and feels great about their life afterwards. Like, that sounds fucked up. But that's what I did. And now that I think about it, that's been my habit when we leave to go do an errand for the whole day. Like, and I come home and I really, like, I mean, coloring is what, like, calms me down, but, like, it wasn't going to work for me last night. And so, yes, I sat there and I, just, I hadn't shaved in a bit, and sometimes I do that on purpose so that, like, I'll have a good, supply of hair to pull off my legs. Oh my God. I shouldn't have said that out loud, but it's out there now. Everybody knows. I'll bet somebody's listening to this right now and has trichotillomania, or if they didn't know they have it, now they do. So it's not just me. There's somebody out there like, I'm pulling my hair right now as I'm listening to this episode. I gotta go, man. I got shit to do. If you're still here, thank you for listening. I hope that this was, like, somewhat relatable. Yeah. What do I say now? Oh yeah, this was just me recording to an app on my phone, helping people find me, listen, relate, have a similar experience to the one I had when I heard myself on somebody else's podcast for the first time. And hopefully this made some sense. I don't know. Okay, well, goodbye.